The Dan Yorke State of Mind program is brought to you in part by Lookout Rhode Island and Takeo Comfort Solutions.
Good evening and welcome into my State of Mind. I am Dan Yorke. Well, it's election week and you're watching this show on a Thursday evening, and admittedly, it's tough to keep up with the news cycle and the changes that are going on with the presidential race. We will continue to keep tabs on that and offer some, real-time analysis. A little bit easier, I think, done next week. So hang in with us on that. Of course, we've got some big changes here in Rhode Island with the plantations name coming off the state, which was a pleasant surprise, I think, for a lot of folks. And the Speaker of the House being ousted and the dynamics of change on Smith Hill. So lots of things to catch up on. In the midst of that, we have a lawsuit being filed by the Providence Teachers Union against the system of Providence, all about being stuck in school with unsustainable teacher/substitute levels and a cry out to, at least once in a while, go to distance learning if the staffing isn't adequate. It's hard to explain what the nuances are, but Maribeth Calabro, the Providence Teachers Union president, will join us and talk to us about her concerns. First, here's Steph Machado's analysis of the case earlier this week.
A third of teachers at Nathaniel Green Middle School in Providence were absent from school Thursday, most because of mandated quarantines due to COVID-19 contact tracing. The district says 31 staffers at Green were out today. That includes 25 teachers. 23 of those 31 staff members are listed in quarantine because they had contact with someone who tested positive.
Should Nathaniel Green be open today?
No, it should not.
Maribeth Calabro is one of the Green teachers in quarantine. She's also the president of the Providence Teachers Union. She says a patchwork of solutions are being used to staff the classrooms because so many teachers are out, breaking up the so-called stable pods.
There are teachers who are covering 2 and sometimes 3 classes in an auditorium or in a cafeteria. There are commingling of classes. That's not safe.
A spokesperson for Superintendent Harrison Peters said in an email, in part, at present, these accommodations have made it possible for the district to continue to hold in-person classes at Green, despite the high staff absenteeism. Multiple schools in other districts like Barrington and Cumberland, private schools and charter schools have temporarily gone remote due to cases or quarantines, while Providence has not. Times 2 Academy, the only charter school that is part of Providence Public Schools, did go remote last week after finding 5 cases of COVID-19. But the decision was made by the charter schools leaders, not the Providence superintendent.
Why in the world are we being treated differently?
Asked about the discrepancy on Wednesday, Governor Gina Raimondo said this.
The decision to close Cumberland or any other school, that wouldn't necessarily have been our recommendation, to be clear.
So once again, Maribeth Calabro joins us. It has been a saga, and I always appreciate that she's available. Being available and transparent is important. If there's disputes with the administration or the state, the administration of the state have a right to tell us what part of your story is incorrect. I appreciate you showing up. First, I know you're on quarantine. You look pretty good to me. It was late for COVID.
I hate quarantine, but it is what it is. And I had a test today. I feel really good. I have never had symptoms or anything, so I'll be back to work on Monday.
Explain if you can. So Nathaniel Green is at the core of this litigation, as Steph Machado has indicated.
Mm-hmm.
That the conversation is both about a school and then a concept.
Right.
So specifically, what's going on at your school acutely? Talk about it as an example.
Sure. So that's basically why we named my school, was because it was acute, and it was the school that I had actual factual data that I could utilize. And so at one point, when I had been placed on quarantine, I was one of a cohort of 14 folks who had been in close contact with a student. So there was a group of teachers and support professionals who were already out on quarantine, and then 14 other people who were added to that number. And what that did was that provided a significant strain on the way in which our school was being run in terms of coverage of classes, monitoring of students, keeping safe pods, and so and providing, you know, effective instruction. And so when you thought about the number of teachers who were impacted by just 2 positive cases, then it becomes more about the collateral damage of the quarantining than it does about the positives themselves. So to explain that a little bit further, when we spoke to Dr. McDonald from the Department of Health, he explained, obviously, one person being noted as positive is obviously a case. And a couple of people, or a couple of folks being determined as positive is considered a cluster. And then several people in a building across grade levels or in a classroom, et cetera, is considered an outbreak. And so while that wasn't an outbreak per se, it was impacting the service delivery of instruction and other services such as speech and language, OT, PT, school counseling, et cetera, because so many people had to be quarantined.
Got it. Well, you know, I get what you're saying. In fact, you know, I wrote in the Valley Breeze in my column last week, I said, you know, and I've said this on all my platforms, you know, on television, it's not necessarily the virus that's going to get the school systems, it's the operational feasibility, the sustainability, it's the person power, it's the number of teachers working for each other, it's the substitute teacher challenge that each district has. But it seems, for some reason, that the virus itself is blowing through a school. Right now, the concept is that you can do everything you can, just tie strings together to keep the kids in the school. I'm sure the governor, the commissioner, the superintendent, they want kids to learn. There's something they don't want kids to learn, but their commitment to being in school supersedes what seemed like almost impossible logistics.
Agreed, because teachers want to be in school as well, but at what cost? So making a patchwork quilt of educators to sit in a classroom to monitor students who are getting their education or their instruction from a teacher who's at home, zooming in and providing that instruction while the teacher who is in the classroom doing that monitoring is either instructing their classes virtually, or they've come from another school to do that. At what point are we literally just covering and staying in school for the sake of covering and staying in school? And are we really truly concerned about the education of students and health and safety of students and staff?
Yeah, I don't think people understand what you just said. I was clear on it, but so you've got a class.
Yes.
Mrs. Jones is quarantined.
Yes.
Mrs. Jones is home.
Yes.
Mrs. Jones, though, is still teaching the student in the class while she's at home.
Yes.
They have earplugs on, hopefully, listening and interacting maybe with Mrs. Jones.
Yes.
In the classroom by themselves. So Miss Smith is coming in to monitor the classroom, but she's not playing solitaire.
No.
She's doing her own thing. She very well may be teaching kids on a computer somewhere else. So the adult in the room is on Zoom or Google or whatever with another class, while the class in front of her is on Zoom with Mrs. Jones.
Correct.
And how often and how consistent is that happening?
Well, in the case of Nathaniel Green, it was happening for several days because of the amount of educators and support professionals that we just did not have to support the amount of students that were in schools on those days. To the point where we had to go to another school and have teachers from that other school come to our school to do their virtual learning in our space.
And how many? Like, if it's one classroom, you go, okay, well, yeah.
I believe it was 4. I believe it was 4 teachers.
Okay. So do you understand what we're dealing with here? When we come back with Maribeth Calabro, Providence Teachers Union president, we'll ask what their solution is and why they're important to try to get a solution. We'll be right back on My State of Mind. Welcome back to My State of Mind. Maribeth Calabro is the Providence Teachers Union president. Now, understand you're watching this program on Thursday. Yesterday afternoon, after our recording, we're recording in early afternoon, but the timing was that John D. Simone, the lawyer for the Teachers Union, was going to be in Superior Court executing the lawsuit. And again, not every lawsuit's the same. This is not for money. This is not remuneration. This is an effort that you are making in front of a court to try to bring, I guess, a solution to the table. As I said to you on the radio, I'm not quite certain what a Superior Court judge's appetite is going to be to engage this. Why are you in court to try to resolve the teacher shortage, person power problem, and sustainability of Providence Public Schools?
So we're actually looking for a temporary restraining order, or at the very least a hearing, so that we can have someone outside of the folks that we've already spoken to. We've been asking for months now, since the very beginning, since August, we asked, at what metrics are we going to be able to move to distance learning? And I know you said in other districts, we had examples from the very first week of school. North Providence shut down with 2 cases because of the error made by the Rhode Island Department of Health. Woonsocket, Cumberland High School, LaSalle Academy, other schools have shut down with far less folks being impacted by COVID or COVID-related issues. And so what we're simply asking for is, we're not asking for a complete shutdown of the district. We're not asking for a complete move to distance learning ad infinitum. What we're simply asking for is a matrix by which a school, a grade level, a team, a classroom could move to remote learning if it is such that they cannot be covered, instructed to the level that they are supposed to be instructed at, that it is no longer safe for everyone in the building to be doing so. We're bringing people in from different schools. So forget about safe pods that no longer exist. Now we're bringing in folks who've been in different pods in different parts of the district, et cetera. By what matrix are we going to be able to say school X can close down for a matter of 2 days, 4 days, 5 days until the first group of people who are quarantined are trickled back in, and we can adequately cover and educate our kids so that we don't have a group of folks or students online learning from people zooming in and a person monitoring who's zooming out to somewhere else. And I don't think that's an unreasonable ask.
Well, it's fascinating, because if I'm Judge Dan Yorke, and believe me, I'm not qualified to be one, but if I'm a judge, I go like this.
I know.
Seriously, I just go, I understand why you're here, but the courts, the place to resolve this. This is about administrative and political leaders. I'm so sorry. Maybe for the hearing, and by the way, reading orders, it's interesting. The judges are not trying to, well, you're asking, it's interesting. Judges are not inclined to issue a restraining order to do something. Restraint is usually to stop something. So stop is full in-school learning, but the alternative is distance learning to do something. So I think it's very hard for a judge to get involved in this. We shall see. Follow up next week to see whether or not you got some traction and your frustration. I think that we've got a commitment from the governor, and because the city of Providence's schools are now directly under the auspice of the state, it seems to me that the governor's influence and philosophy on this is the ultimate barometer. And you're absolutely right. The bar's moving all over the place. It's moving all over the place. You know, stable schmods. I mean, there's no way that you're going to keep that moving up and back and forth. And I think you cite those other schools accurately, but they don't, you know, they're not under the direct auspice of the state.
No, they're not. No, they're not.
Where they can make their own independent decisions as to what they're doing. I mean, you guys in Providence are, it's like, you know, be careful what you ask for when, not that you ask for it, be careful what you ask for when the state takes over the system, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it leaves us there.
But I don't think that taking over the system should preclude us from the same safety and health guidelines as the rest of the state. I don't think that should preclude our students from the same level of education from the rest of the state.
That's the trick here, and that's the thing that Governor Raimondo is just needs to be called out on. The original permission, or you know, guidance and permission, not authority or direction, but guidance and green light to open, was contamination in the community.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's been thrown out because we're in a spike and a half here, and everyone's crossing past that right now.
Right.
So now there's no barometer about what goes on in the schools, other than what they think is a cluster of contamination that can't be resolved. So what she is saying, by the way, she chews out Cumberland and Woonsocket, and of course she's been beating the tar out of Pawtucket for being on distance learning the entire way. But she's now saying, hey, we didn't tell you to do that. We didn't give you a prescription to do that. The Department of Health didn't tell you to do that. You did that.
Right.
The difference is that Providence is not you, it's we, because she's running Providence.
Correct.
You're jammed up. Your conversation's got to be with her, it seems. Have you had any meetings with the administration rather than and the commissioner? The ride is between a rock and a hard place. I mean, they're committed to in-school learning, as you are. You know, COVID stinks.
It does. It does. But at what point are we going to say, okay, folks, maybe, just maybe, we made a mistake and we should shut down at the appropriate times for 14 days to thoroughly clean and then bring folks back and then go out again? Why can't we just do that? Why can't folks just say, I made a mistake?
I'll leave it there. Because she can't. But interesting, the districts that can do, and that's the problem. The final few words on this and the projection as to where we go for the rest of the school year. We've only just started. Right back with Providence Teachers Union. Final few minutes with Maribeth Calabro with the Providence Teachers Union. My bet is that a judge is not going to be able to help you, will be empathetic, but not going to be able to help you. Who knows? By the way, the Nathaniel Green litigation here again, is symbolic. You teach as well as being the teacher union president. This is the district. Is that what you're listening to?
Absolutely. This is applicable for every school in the district. Because what happened prior to Nathaniel Green was Martin Luther King Elementary School, Carnivale Elementary School. Currently, we have an issue at Central High School. And quite frankly, our own in-district charter school has an outbreak and they're closed.
But they have their own system because they're chartered, which is
Correct.
Which is interesting. Give me a minute on this. Take all of this away.
Mm-hmm.
How is the learning going?
This is difficult, right? And the whole pandemic is not easy. I'm not faulting anyone about any of those things. So the hybrid model is not easy. It's very difficult to do an A day and a B day. It's very difficult to get people focused and centered and all of those things. It's difficult to plan. It's difficult to keep students engaged. All of that is difficult. It's also imperative, based on what we know about social emotional learning and the fact that DCYF has not been getting the calls that they've gotten pre-COVID, or that social workers and school psychologists are hearing a lot more trauma than they have in the past. Those things are very, very real to all of us. We understand that. At the end of the day, we have to do what's in the best interest of everyone. And if shutting down for a week or 5 days or 7 days or 15 days to clean a school and get everyone back and healthy to provide those services that our children need and the instruction that they need so that we can get away from this A day, B day and get everyone back in, then that's what we need to do. Sorry, not sorry. Somebody has to say, I made a mistake, and let's figure this out together.
All right, we'll leave it there. And we hope that we can get some response from the cities. Maribeth, appreciate it. Be well and get back to
Thanks. I can't wait to go. I'm going stir crazy.
the final word when we come back, Steve. Look, it's only reasonable, and local districts are making the decision to teach from home when things are unsustainable. Providence is in a different place, reporting directly to the governor, and she's pretty stubborn about this right now. Will things change? Stay tuned. Have a great night. Thanks for tuning in.